I really don't know how this idea got started. I think it started out when Joe said he wanted a really wide thwart. Like 18 inches wide or something crazy like that. I didn't like that idea. But anyhow, he wanted a wide thwart, and then he wanted a bow seat that would be removable. And then he wanted that bow seat to go away, just disappear somehow. And I think we were thinking about floorboards at the time, and so maybe the bow seat became a floorboard. Played around with that idea for a while. And then somehow it turned into this thing which I call the console. It's kind of like, you know, those trays that your wife wants for the bathtub she puts candles on and a glass of wine and a soggy novel, and it gets in your way every time you want to take a shower. It's like one of those things, but in the boat. Okay. The other side. So my idea was to make this console, and that's the thwart, and then the bow seat sits up forward, and when you don't want it, it drops down on top of the console. So it's kind of like you have one seat that moves back and forth. And when it's in the middle of the boat, it's got a house, and when it's at the bow of the boat, it just sits in the bow of the boat. Okay, so why am I even putting time into this? Well, this is where we figure out if this is a feasible idea or a completely stupid idea. It's really what it boils down to. I should do a little something to keep those from moving. I know what I'm going to do. Somewhere we got some bits of plywood from before. So I thought of this console as this multi-use platform. So it would have kind of a compartment in the middle that's protected from the weather when you have the seat there. Keep charts in it, maybe a sandwich. And then you got these little trays on the side that you could drop a water bottle onto or whatnot. Okay, get rid of that. Oh, not going to stay. Okay, good enough. Same thing over here. And since Joe's going to be beach cruising, it could be like his dinner table too, if he had to stop and knock out a quick meal, even while he's afloat or dragged up on the beach. Now, it might be a dumb idea, but that's the idea. So let's get building. Okay, so seat comes out, drops in to this guy. I think I can just take this out. Let's get this out of here. It appears to be holding its shape just fine. We can always stuff it back in if we're concerned. There we go. Much better. So. All right, now I'm going to try and figure out the furniture. This ridiculous looking contraption is my spiling. And it looks like this just because I was grabbing any scrap that was lying around close to me to cobble this together. And the goal when you're spiling, especially something like this, is you need to think about the material thickness you're going to be working with. So in this case, I want a piece of 1/2-inch plywood to be able to lie across here. And we're going to put skirts on it. That'll stiffen it up and dress it up, make it look more like something purposeful other than a piece of plywood. This is giving me two primary pieces of information. It's giving me the shape that the plywood will be at where it touches the planking and where it leans up against this frame up forward here. And then it's giving me the angles of my inwales so that I can make something that sort of nests in there nicely. So all the little bits and pieces you see here are really just to sort of build it up to the point where I'm hitting 1/2 inch above this point or close to it. We'll give it a little bit of wiggle, but not much. We want it to sort of be snuggish. Not so snug that it doesn't lift out easily. So this will be the forward rolling position, and the idea is that we can pop this out and then it's going to shift back onto our main rolling position, or the tray we're going to create. So anyhow, let's take this out and we're going to cut our plywood from this right now. Okay, so flipping this upside down, this piece of plywood is cut already, allowing for a 1/4 inch hardwood skirt to go onto it. So this is going to be sitting a little bit large. So here's a bit of the skirt material. It's basically going to sit on here like this. So we'll just flip that over and flush that up there. Okay, that's good enough. Yep, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. That's a critical dimension there. And then I've got this little cutaway I've worked out. I'm just going to make sure that they're even from side to side, but it seemed to work out pretty good in the spiling here. I think I need to deepen it just a hair. Now the one thing I realize is I should be marking this from the back. I don't think I've really, I haven't done that because that's my show face, although it doesn't really matter. It's going to get painted. You know what, that side's fine. It's fine enough for paint, so we're good. So ultimately this is going to get flipped over, so I'm just going to mark this as back. Sometimes one thing I might do is I might just have a look and see if there's a trend in the panel to see if it's got a little bit of bow to it that might indicate one side having some crown over the other, but it doesn't look like it does. Okay, so we got a little space to fill in here. So what we'll do is we'll cut this probably on the bandsaw. We'll drill some holes for this before we try and cut this notch out. So to start with, we'll just go square right through it. And I'll use a Forstner bit to give myself a nice round hole. That looks pretty good. All right, so we'll cut that out. And I'm basically building, what I'm doing really is building from the outside in, because this is the main thing that has to fit just so. The rest of it has to jibe with this. So we're starting with this. We'll figure out how to build this, how to trim it, and then we'll move on to the tray. I'm realizing right now I should have waited on these holes before I did this, but oh well. We'll just hold back to the last veneer here, leave it a bit flat on the edge, and then we'll check it and do a little cutting and fitting. Okay, so we've got our front panel mostly complete now. I've trimmed out the edges with some ash here. We've angled the sides to match the risers. It's more of a aesthetic detail more than a structural one. And I'm going to play around with whether or not I want to crown these guys one way or the other, because right now they're dead straight and it doesn't look very good. So we might go with this. We might go with a reverse curve. I haven't decided yet. But right now I want to work on building the rest of the tray before I get too hung up on that. I want the tray to be done so I can compare the shapes. Okay, full disclosure, there's no real plan here. We're just going to start building. So let's make a couple of sticks that span the boat. I just want to send out a big thank you to my followers on Patreon. It's their monthly contributions that make these videos possible. This week I want to give a big shout out to Jerry Heenan for joining the crew. If you're enjoying these videos and you'd like to support this channel, I encourage you to join me on Patreon. Find links in the corner or down in the description. I've got our tray sides here. We'll drop one there. We'll drop one here. And of course this front seat is going to protrude past the tray. But what we've got is a situation where this thing overhangs the tray. There's basically going to be a box inside here that is protected from the elements by this seat. So we'll use a couple of spacers just to make sure there's some wiggle room. So I'll just give it 1/8 of an inch overall. So we got a 1/16 on each side. That should be enough to deal with any wood movement. And we've got some little walls here for the trays. I'll drop those in. Now I'm putting drains in the bottom because it's easy enough for water to get there one way or the other, even if Joe just spills his soup. So that'll go in there. And this tray, right now we're looking at it upside down obviously, this tray is going to get plywood panels. And where the panels come together here, we're going to just create a drain in between the two panels, and they'll be tight in through here. So that way any water that hits is going to come through and it's going to drain out regardless. That all looks good. It's sort of it's a nice fit. Dimensions look okay. And now I've made a little tick stick, basically just taken some scrap and trimmed it to fit in here. So this is just to give me a width for my plywood panel that we're going to put into the bottom here. So I'm going to dig out some plywood. It's going to be 1/4 inch thick. And we're going to cut some pieces to fit in here, and then we'll figure out how we want to deal with the little drain here. I think what's probably going to happen is the one in the tray is just going to come up flush with the end of this. And then the ones that come up from the side here, it'll butt in the center, but ultimately we'll cut a little drain hole out of the one in the side here, so anything that lands here drains out before it hits the tray. I think that's going to work really nicely. And I still have to cut these to length too, so one of them is already where it needs to be. We'll put a bevel on the end just so it matches the planking sides. It's not going to touch the planking though, it's got some wiggle room. And that's because Joe wants to be able to move it a little bit. And then the other one's got to get chopped a little shorter because of course it's towards the bow of the boat, and the boat's just a little less beamy in that point. So let's go find some plywood to cut this out. Now for a cross cut. Problem. Just don't have enough room, elbow room in the shop here to do half this work sometimes. How's that? Just checking to see if I can get through this before I hit the boat. Nope. Okay, so there's our frame. This is going to drop on there and just flush right up. Looks good. I think I just need to give it a tiny little scrape. Probably not even. And then we got these guys. over here. So these guys, I think I might just bevel the edge of this to match up with this a little bit. That makes sense. And then we need to do a little and then with this beveled up, this will get a nice little, we'll give it like a, I don't know, half-inch drain, something big enough that it's not going to get clogged up with junk, but without losing your granola bar down. Okay, great. I like it. I like it. That's all the time we have for today, folks, so we're going to pick this up next week and finish throwing this together. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join me again next week. Now, before you run away, why don't you watch this video where I put some thwarts into the bushy dory.